What's good, guys? Akeal Senpai here, and we are back with another video. And today we are finally back with another JoJo video. And today we are going to be talking about part 4, Diamond is Unbreakable. And you know, guys, I made a video separately a little while back saying that this was actually my favorite part, guys. So I'm actually really excited to be finally making this video. I feel like this is the most relatable part of JoJo so far that I've actually watched. I haven't read the manga yet. Everybody's saying part 7 is the best one ever, and you know, I'm really looking forward to that anime adaptation. And part 6 is obviously coming soon, considering that part 5 is almost done. I believe it's on this last episode, and hopefully, you know, it will finally show this week. I know they missed or they skipped like 2 weeks, I guess, just to like make sure the animation is on point, you know, when that last episode drops and we get a final conclusion to Golden Wind. But anyways, today we are here talking about Diamond is Unbreakable. Next video we're going to be talking about Golden Wind, though, hopefully after this conclusion arrives, and I can talk about that as well. Now, first off, guys, what really threw me off when watching this part 4 of JoJo is actually the intro itself. The intro, I mean, you get like a whole like bunch of colors just like thrown in your face and everything like that, and the music is really lit. You know, we get 3 openings this time, which I really enjoy. I really like all of them, honestly. My favorite one's probably the first one, though, with all being said. But you know, it just shows you that each part has its own different vibe, and I really like that about JoJo. That is like one of my favorite parts about the series so far, and why I believe is probably my favorite anime right now, honestly. You know, besides Hunter x Hunter. But yeah, Diamond is Unbreakable. We follow Josuke, and Josuke is actually the son of Joseph Joestar, and he is also considered Jotaro's uncle, which is, you know, it's kind of weird because we see how old and how big, you know, Jotaro is, but I mean, that's his nephew right there. Jotaro is his nephew, but I mean, so apparently, you know, just giving a little bit of backstory, apparently Joseph Joestar, sometime I guess after the whole part 3 arc, or maybe during or something like that, he actually ended up cheating on the wife he was with. I can't really remember her name, honestly, because we barely see her in part 2, which is actually where he gets married. But I mean, that's how that happens. And you know, we kind of see, you know, with Josuke's character, he actually has the exuberance of Joseph Joestar when he was younger, which I really liked a lot and kind of missed when watching part 3. But you see that Josuke has more sense of responsibility, and he's not as much as I guess ruthless as you know, Joseph Joestar used to be back then. And I really like that, because it kind of has like, you know, kind of 2 dynamics. So like, you know, you saw Jotaro was like really serious, but you know, Joseph Joestar was he was a jokester kind of. And you know, in part 4 we get like the dynamic of both of those into one character, which I really enjoy a lot. And then, you know, the characters surrounding Josuke as well, such as Okuyasu. Oh my gosh. The character known as Koichi and Okuyasu. I really enjoy them a lot, and you know, just the whole chemistry between the characters. It's really weird, you know, and I talk about this later, how the fact that Okuyasu actually ended up being Josuke's friend and everything like that, and all of a sudden he wanted to be buddy-buddy. But I mean, it kind of makes sense when you think about it, but you know, it's still a little funny, and you know, I kind of talk about that a little bit. I'll talk about that a little more in the video. Now, just backtracking a little bit when talking about, you know, having a bunch of colors and stuff thrown in your face and seeing so many art style changes when it comes to this part of the series. You know, one of the main differences is the fact that the main characters, the Josuke, who we're talking about in this case, isn't Baki like Jotaro, you know, Joseph Joestar and Jonathan Joestar, obviously. And then we kind of see this as the series goes on, apparently, you know, even with Jorno, who is going to be the Jojo after this part that we're going to be talking about next time. You know, we see that he's skinny, and a lot of the characters are a lot more slim. And you know, My thoughts on it, I'm not upset about it, honestly. I really like both of them. I like both styles, honestly. I just really think it really shows the growth of Araki's art style and his transformation throughout the series, honestly. And you know, I really do appreciate that there is like some growth and a lot of transition and transformation throughout his work. And yeah, I mean, you cannot hate on it, honestly. And you know, it kind of fits with the character as well. Although Josuke does have the stand Crazy Diamond, and it does have a huge amount of strength, it is much similar to Jotaro's stand as well. We actually get a little change with his stand, and it's apparently not as strong as Jotaro's stand, but it is still really strong. And although in this series, in this part, we do see that Jotaro did get a little weaker, but he is still considered one of the most OP characters of the whole part, considering that he still has the power to use the world and freeze time. And although it's not 5 seconds apparently now, it's limited now to like maybe 1 or 2, it's still really OP when you still think about it. I mean, the man's freezing time, so in 1 second you could really do a lot, honestly, especially if you have Star Platinum. Now, the difference between Star Platinum and Crazy Diamond, though, you know, of course their appearances look different, obviously, and we kind of see that Crazy Diamond almost kind of looks similar to the world, just a little bit, you know, without the golden color and stuff like that. But you know, in terms of power or abilities, one of the main differences is the fact that Crazy Diamond actually has the ability to repair anything. This could even be, you know, a human body or appendage or anything like that. But the catch is, Josuke can't heal himself with Crazy Diamond. You know, whatever damage he takes, he just has to heal regularly. Or, you know, let's say if somebody dies and he repairs them too late and the spirit left the body, you can't bring him back to life. Which apparently is actually there's somewhat kind of a plot hole with that. Similar power that Giorno has, but we will be talking about that in the next video, obviously. And now comparing him to his previous predecessors, you know, we talked about his differences between Josuke and Jotaro, and even a little bit about Joseph Joestar. And obviously it's going to be size, appearance, and everything like that. But one of the main differences as well, if we're going to compare Josuke to Jonathan and, you know, Joseph, is the fact that he is in fact the second Japanese Jojo that we get so far in the series. And you know, considering, and not only that, might I add, he is also in high school as well. I believe Jotaro might have been like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like he might have been in his 20s or something like that, although he still kind of did wear, it looked like he still did wear school uniform, but we don't really get to see that much. And you know, what I really like about this part for sure is the fact that we get to see, you know, the fact that although he is serious and the stand user and stuff like that, and this is kind of like a murder mystery part or whatever like that, we get to see the dynamic between him and many other people within the town, and get to, you know, get that that slice of life kind of feel with this whole anime, considering that he's so young and, you know, one of the most relatable and most open characters that we see within the JoJo-verse so far. I really like the fact that Josuke isn't the only person that has the spotlight within this part. You know, they could have done that, obviously, but we've seen in part 3, you know, not even Jotaro had the whole spotlight, obviously, but, you know, we kind of gave him that spotlight at the same time, you know, even though we saw that they kind of didn't want to do that. But in this part, they make sure, you know, some characters get their own episodes, you know. So, for example, Koichi is actually like really enjoyable, honestly. When I first watched him, I actually thought he was going to be like, you know, the Krillin of the part, but he proved me wrong, honestly. I feel like he proved a lot of us wrong, you know, once he got his stand and showed how OP it was, and he showed he wasn't going to take anything. So, I mean, that really proved me wrong. And then Okuyasu, actually, I might be a little wrong with that actually. I don't think we got an episode, you know, just with Okuyasu or anything like that, but we did get an episode with Rohan, which is really interesting, considering that he wasn't really necessarily considered like, you know, the main character, but, you know, later on I guess he kind of like made himself that. And that gets into the next conversation, is the fact that it's so weird that in this part a lot of the enemies honestly end up becoming the good guys, like part of the team or something, and it's just really weird in my opinion. And, you know, before I even touch on that a little more, it's important to point out the fact that when you're first watching this part, you get a little confused because, you know, at first you think it's just the main character, the main antagonist is going to be Chili Pepper, but then once they beat him, then you're like, now what? Joestar is here, so like, what are we gonna do from here? And then it turns out there's actually another person that's murdering people, you know, and that'll be Yoshikage Kira and everything like that. And we kind of build up to that once we learn about some more characters and stuff like that. And it's just so wild, man. Honestly, like there's like so much stuff, and there's so much like slice of life episodes I feel as well. That are kind of comedic, but they also like lead into the following parts. So like the Rohan, you know, episode, obviously you see he ends up becoming a main character, and then we got the Tamami thing, and then we got the dang, what's her name? We got the woman that ends up capturing Koichi and holding him hostage and everything like that. She ends up becoming an important part of the whole thing, and it's just really cool to see how these characters, these antagonists, lead into something even greater instead of just being tossed aside, obviously. And, you know, although it is weird that these antagonists do end up becoming good guys just like that, it seems like Tamami, for example, like the episode after he got bodied by Koichi, he just ends up, you know, being his apprentice sometime. Like, it's just like really, really weird. But, you know, it's really, really good just to see, you know, just learn about that and the whole Red Line of Faith thing, or whatever it's called. I believe that's correct, but, you know, the whole idea of that is the fact that Stan users attract other Stan users, and this gives, I guess, Araki the ability to be able to incorporate so many different Stans just in one town, instead of, you know, in part 3 where they travel the world. And the only reason why they pretty much run into so many stand users that we are led to believe is the fact that Dio is sending them, you know, to fight them or whatever. And, you know, it's really interesting, you know, just to see that it's stuck to one setting, and that this is also in the 90s, or yeah, this is in the 90s as well. And it's just really, really cool to see that we're getting even more modernized and everything like that, and it just becomes even more relatable in the sense as well. Which is why I feel like this is my favorite, part. And now, you know, just like touching a little bit on like Rohan, for example, this is one of the, like, I feel like one of the favorite characters of a lot of people in the fan base, you know, for that, you know, start off as an antagonist. And, you know, with that whole episode in general, where Koichi and that other guy, I can't remember his name, I'm sorry, there's so many characters in this part that you have to remember, but that one episode where Koichi and the other guy actually went in the house and everything like that, and, you know, you got to know Rohan and everything like that. And when they used Heaven's Door, and you were like, yo, what are they going to do? Because where every time Koichi goes outside, like, he just leaves the door, he automatically forgets. And then you just be like, yo, like, oh my gosh, like Josuke and Okuyasu won't, like, you know, catch on until, you know, we actually do end up seeing that they did catch on and they snuck in, you know, or I think Okuyasu like went through the window and Josuke like went through the door, and it was just like, dang, yo, where's this gonna go? But other than that, Heaven's Door and Cheap Trick are apparently like the most OP Jojo moves like ever. And, you know, somebody in the comments actually said this, and, you know, I had to think about it, and, you know, honestly, thinking about it, it really is. I feel like Heaven's Door is actually like maybe a lot more dangerous than even, let's say, the ability that the boss has to skip the world in part 5. Believe it or not, you know, you just had to trick somebody just to look at a comic strip or whatever. or just look at his stand and he just gets to freeze them and, you know, just like incapacitate them. Like, that's just wild to me, honestly. And you know, Rohan, obviously, I feel like he has like the most style of the whole part as well. Like his swag is like really lit. So I like Rohan low key, but he is kind of an ass sometimes. But I kind of like his character a lot. But Josuke, you know, he's that boy still. All right, now talking about a little bit of, you know, some other people's stands. Obviously, the main characters. I'm talking about Rohan's before I even talk about, you know, Koichi's or Okuyasu's. And Okuyasu's actually has one of the most OP stands as well. It's just like the fact that it's so dang slow, and you know, sometimes he doesn't, you know, use it on time or anything like that. But his ability is actually the hand, and you know, he gets to erase anything, you know, with one swipe. So he can actually erase the space between him and another person, meaning he essentially gets to teleport in a way. And you know, it's really OP, but obviously the thing is that it's slow, and yeah, he doesn't really use it, you know, as fast as he probably should, or as smartly. I feel like he should, honestly. And then Koichi's is actually reverb, and this is actually one of the first times we actually get to see a stand evolve. And you know, that's actually something I really want to see. Somebody made a really good point in the last video that, you know, although like there's no training portion or anything like that, this really just leaves Araki like a good opportunity to be really creative with the actions that he does with the character. And I heavily agree with that, honestly, and that's one of the main reasons why I like Jojo, because of the creativity that they do with the stands. I mean, honestly, even with Jotaro, even where like his main move is like star finger, and you know, obviously the barrage of punches he has, it's the matter of like what they do mentally, you know, and creatively with the abilities that they have, and it just makes it really fun to watch. Even still, it's not like Dragon Ball Z where it's just like, oh, power scale, you know, you're even stronger than before with a new look. It's a lot more cerebral and, you know, creative, I feel, and you know, that's something I really like a lot. And Koichi's stand is actually reverb. It has 3 phases, as we know so far. So the first one, it's kind of like he touches anything, he could like put a sound to it. So like, for example, I touch this couch, I smack it, and the smack noise repeats over and over, and it can intensify and actually damage people, you know, due to a frequency. But you know, I believe Reverb 2 actually has the ability to fly or whatever, and it can actually amplify the amount of sounds it can put on things and stuff like that. Whereas Reverb 3 actually can control gravity, it seems, I believe. And you know, this is really useful for when they finally fight Yoshikage Kira, where he shoot, what is that thing called? But the tank part of his stand of Killer Queen, he has a little tank part where he can actually shoot it out, and it's pretty much invisible. Like, even not even Stark Platinum can even like punch it or dent it or anything like that. But with Reverb, he could actually, you know, use gravity to force it on the ground, and it'll immobilize it essentially. And you know, the design is really lit, and the character itself is really funny. You know, I really like the fact that they really gave Reverb the ability to talk as well. You know, this is actually something I really wanted, you know, in part 3, you know, at least like some of the main stands to talk, and we kind of get that again in part 5 with Mista and his stand, and that's what makes, I feel, Mista so enjoyable as well, because his stand can talk, and it has, you know, it seems like it has consciousness, and like, I don't know, it just makes it more fun. And with that being said, let's talk about the first antagonist that we actually end up facing in this part, and that's going to be Chili Pepper. And you know, this is like one of the mystery antagonists. You know, we don't know who the stand user is, and oh, he comes out of nowhere. He can go through electricity, much like the first antagonist that we faced that can go through water, you know, steam, anything like that, you know, related to water. But Chili Pepper, you know, he seems to be apparently the person that we think Jotaro is looking for. that is doing all these murders and stuff like that. But then once we get to him, we fight him. The fight ends up being really quick, in my opinion. It's a little underwhelming, in my opinion, but it's still really fun to watch, in my opinion. You know, just to see such a different stand user. The fact that he uses like an electric guitar and everything like that. And, you know, even after he ends up falling in the water and surviving and almost gets Joestar, he almost kills him. But, you know, it's really nice to see a different kind of antagonist for once, and then just have like a little twist where this character is actually not the main antagonist that, you know, Jotaro may be looking for. It's Yoshikage Kira, which we get later on. And Yoshikage Kira is probably the best, probably the best antagonist that we get in Jojo so far. Apparently, you guys say Funny Valentine is the most enjoyable antagonist within part 7, I believe that is. And, you know, I don't really know much about him. I kind of don't want to be spoiled about it yet because I want to wait till the anime adaptation. Although I could get the manga anytime, but then I feel like me just getting the manga won't be as enjoyable watching the anime because there's no audio. Like, I feel like that kind of bothers me just a bit, and I want to know how the person sounds at least and stuff like that. But part 6 is coming out. But anyways, getting back into Yoshikage Kira, you know, his whole backstory that we know of so far is the fact that he did all these murders and stuff like that back in the day. And we even meet one of the main characters that we get later on that even explains this to Rohan and Koichi after they go into a secret kind of alleyway that isn't even on the map, and it ends up being like some kind of purgatory or something like that, where it's like in between realms. And, you know, it's really, really interesting to, you know, get that kind of thing within this show, which is actually not something I was really expecting. But, you know, since this is kind of like a murder mystery type thing, it's gonna be apparent, I guess. And, you know, with Yoshikage Kira, apparently what he does is he can actually combust anything and anybody. And the thing is, it's really, really crazy that, you know, everybody can go around him, you know, within the town or anything like that. He's just like so under profile. He doesn't really do anything out there, so he always just blends in. And a lot of people, you know, even Josuke and a lot of the other main characters may walk past him, and we see him like even in the pictures that Rohan takes and stuff like that later on, and we don't know it's him. Like, it's just wild, honestly, until, you know, we finally obviously figure out who he is and everything like that. And Yoshikage Kira, he doesn't really seem like a tough guy, like, per se, like just him without his stand. It's just the fact that how he goes about everything. He has such a dang OP stand where he could just like combust anybody, and, you know, like the evidence of that person being gone or whatever is just gone. So you just like, bro, what happened to this guy? Like, a lot of people don't know until they be like, oh, it was Yoshikage Kira or whatever. Like, we figure out with what's his name, with the harvest stand. And, you know, that whole scenario, that was really, really unexpected, and that just really led to a whole beginning of being like, dang, man, this guy is ruthless. Like, dang, this guy's probably gonna be really tough as the part goes on and everything like that. And it's really nice to have that kind of mystery thing inside of JoJo. I really enjoyed that. And, you know, just with Yoshikage Kira a little bit more, we get the whole, you know, thing once they finally, like, he gets caught and everything like that. He ends up finessing his way out of it somehow, and he ends up changing bodies with another person, a random person, I believe, or it was either that or somebody he worked with beforehand that we kind of get a little glimpse of before, you know, with one of the scenes. And, you know, that is because there's actually a stand user in Morioh as well, which is the town. Morioh in I forgot what episode it was, but it was the episode where Yukaku, or yeah, I think that's her name, Yukaku, the girl that actually ends up capturing Koichi. It's that when she wants to, you know, get like this this makeover type thing by this person that has this, of course, obviously the stand that does so. It gives people a makeover or the false perception that they're actually better, they look better, it makes them more attractive and everything like that. And she ends up winning Koichi over that somehow, some way. But he goes over there and he runs over there real quick. He kills the person, the woman, obviously, once he gets the procedure done, and he runs out. And then we're just left like for a few episodes of like, bro, like where is this guy and everything like that. And once we finally get to his scenes, we see that he actually pretty much stole the role of that guy, obviously, as the father, and the boy is really suspicious of his father, considering his changes, his change of impulses, and how his mother is now acting towards her husband. I'm assuming that they didn't really have a great relationship before, but now all of a sudden she's going gaga over him and everything like that, and that seems sus. And with all that, just fast forwarding a bit, because I really don't want to tell the whole story. It's so much information, guys. But we also get the cat stand, which is really weird. And the reason why we get so many stands as well is not only because of the red line of fate, is also because Yoshikage Kira's dad, he also ends up getting the arrow from actually, this is the first part that we were introduced to the arrow. I thought we were introduced to it in the last part, but I guess not. In this part, we were introduced to the arrow. And what this arrow does, it actually creates stands. And, we get a little more details on what it does actually in part 5, but I don't want to talk about that yet, because that's going to lead to something else. And, we could actually talk about this in this part. It not only makes stands, but it could actually make your stand even more powerful than what it is, called a Requiem, which we learned in part 5. But just focusing on part 4, what happens is, after Yoshikage Kira gets figured out and everything like that, his dad, kind of tries to comfort him or whatever, and the arrow actually ends up accidentally stabbing Killer Queen. And when this happens, this actually gives Yoshikage Kira a new ability to solve whatever situation is going on in his current time, which is the fact that he's got figured out. Essentially got finessed by his quote unquote son. And with that being said, this ability is another time-based ability, and I'm kind of sensing a pattern here. There's always like some kind of the most powerful ability within the part is going to be time-based for some reason. But in this ability, it's called Bites the Dust. And in Bites the Dust, what happens is you're essentially stuck on rewind. So what I mean by that, you're stuck on repeat. So let's say the boy, he's just like, yo, so you're going to try to tell him or whatever, you got the information, you got it, alright, go ahead. So what happens is, after he does that, or he gets figured out, what's going to happen is, whoever he tells, or whoever figures out, or ask about Yoshikage Kira, that's going to be Rohan the first time, is the fact that they blow up, they explode. And, even with Rohan's ability, where he doesn't even have to ask or anything like that, he could just use Heaven's Door, be like, alright, so where's he at? He still gets blown up. So we're just like, dang, yo, what can they really do? And at this point, we get the cat stand and everything like that can blow bubbles and stuff like that. That's a little bit earlier, and that's because he actually stabbed a dead cat or something like that with an arrow, and he ended up burying it and everything like that, and became like a plant, and it has the tendencies of a cat, but can blow bubbles, which actually seems very harmless at first. But he could also blow gusts of wind and cut people with that. And with the bubble, it actually gives Yoshikage Kira the ability to use projectiles with his explosives, and this gets really dangerous in the final fight that we get, which is really enjoyable. And just in a condensed way, it is not what I expected, honestly. Just the conclusion of that is not what a lot of people expect, and the fact that he ends up dying just because, like, not even because Jotaro got to use the world. Like, he did use it, I think, but he didn't do anything. Like, he didn't order him or anything like that. What happened was he actually ended up tripping, I believe, and he got ran over by a truck, and that's essentially how he lost. That's how Yoshikage Kira loses, and my mind was blown. I thought Jotaro was going to put in some work, but I mean, that was the conclusion. And you know, I really did enjoy this part, honestly. It is so much hype, you know, throughout the part. So many laughable times, slice of life. You know, it's just a huge mixture. And although it didn't travel all over the place, you know, much like how part 3 did, I really like the fact that it stuck to one area and can still make it so enjoyable and so relatable in some type of way, obviously for obvious reasons, because of, yeah, I don't think I have to say, but it was just really enjoyable, and I really did like this part a lot. I would give this part an 8.5 out of 10, believe it or not. I feel like there kind of could have been a little bit more involvement with some more characters and everything like that. You know, every part has its flaw, obviously, and I really did enjoy this part so far. Actually, I really did like this part, considering the fact that you know, it had so much slice of life, so much mixture, so much dual dynamics with the main character Josuke. Just by itself, I really like that, and you know, it kind of made you wonder what's going to happen next each episode, and you know, each time it just made me more excited for the next episode. And you know, hopefully part 8 actually has the same, you know, idea and everything like that, because I know part 8, although I haven't read it, actually takes place in Morioh as well, and it's like some kind of alternate universe of part 4, but I guess we'll find out as the years go by, because who knows when the heck that's going to get an anime adaptation, because we're just now getting to part 6, guys. And you know, just to take in consideration, part 5 actually came out in early 2000s, guys, like 2000, 2003, like, and we're just now finishing that, like maybe this week. So that is just wild to me. It makes me think of like how much JoJo we still have to go, you know, go around. I mean, wait till we even get to part 7, which is apparently everybody's favorite JoJo arc, and I'm excited. Who knows, maybe it'll be part 9, part 10, 11, 12, we'll do a Final Fantasy with it, but hey, I really do love this series so far, and you know, in the next video we're going to be talking about Golden Wind, which I actually still really enjoy as well, and is really up there. I think I kind of slightly put it above part 3, and you know, I'll see you guys later in the next video. Really appreciate all the love and support you guys have been showing me throughout these series, and just talk about JoJo. There will be other videos as well, of course, the self-help, workout videos, and maybe even some other anime that I may plan on launching. I'll see you guys later. Peace.